We had to move online. The Overwatch League has also had to move online.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of different changes. John, you actually did a whole show about this, Reinforce. You did a Watchpoint show when there hadn't been any matches to review. And you just, the large portion of the show was talking to the vice president.
Does that mean our show is as good as Watchpoint because we're the only other show that's able to do a show with nothing?
Yeah. I would say, to be honest, that we have never had any problems with crunch time assets flying over the screen, and we've been able to put together a great show right here with some fantastic assets.
We're gonna get John Spector to come to the living room when this is all over, and come on Plat Chat. I don't know how we're gonna make that happen, but we're gonna get John on Plat Chat, and we're just gonna get him a little mug. He can do Bren's Player of the Week one week.
Oh yeah. That'd be great.
Maybe we can get in some guest spots.
Nice. Yeah. So what's the feel about it moving all online? Obviously it's required. I think but it has to. But like the way that the entire structure has changed as well. It feels like it'll still be pretty entertaining. It's not like they've had to compromise that much, really.
I tell you,
as long as people can see the games, I don't think anyone's really going to care at this point.
Yeah, I've been dead impressed with the league's agileness.
Yeah,
the whole situation. And the ability
agileness.
Just how
agility is the word you're looking for.
Agility, dexterity.
Agileness. I like agile.
You've been playing too much Path of Exile.
Yeah, the dexterity. But like how quick they've been able to adjust to just so this is the analogy I'm imagining. John Spector's in the gulag in Warzone, and the fucking chimps are up there chucking rocks and shit at him, and John Spector's dodging, weaving. He's got the fucking Deeg in hand, and he's winning the 1v1 against the coronavirus in the gulag. And that's what I'm imagining, the mental warfare that's going on. John Spector is narrowly, he's making decisions. He's taking a left corner, he's taking a flank, flashbang over the top. I think they've done quite well with the situation at hand.
No, they've crushed it. I mean, there's no... I think everybody in every facet of esports and whatnot has really done a really nice job of just being proactive, getting things online, making things work. Because I think the fans, I mean, look, everybody's kind of stuck at home. Everybody wants something to watch. Everyone wants something to do. And I think what makes esports great and what made it great for people to get into is that you could do it from anywhere. It could be online, it could be in person. Like, there's so many different ways you can do this.
I mean, those are the two ways.
No, you can have some people online and some people online as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's the third way you could do it.
What's the third way?
Half of the people on land, half the people online.
Oh, genius.
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah, that sounds very competitively fair.
It's a way you do it, though.
It's not optimal, right? It's not optimal. And I saw a lot of comments today about how some schedules are really unfair. Like if you're Dallas Fuel, you're just getting screwed because you play a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not optimal. But I'm happy regardless that we just have some matches and we can just enjoy it. Like I'm watching real sports and they're freaking out. Like I just want to tune into ESPN in like a week just to see what they're talking about because they have nothing. They have like NFL free agency, and they have like I don't even know what they have. They have nothing, and they're forced to do like talk shows like every day. It's like that's just cool. Just like what are sports going to talk about when there are no sports?
I'm incredibly optimistic towards the entire situation, I think, from a viewership perspective. I think this is in a weird way, this was the make or break year for the Overwatch League. That's what people kept saying, right?
Yeah.
In theory, that might not be the case, but that's what
I don't think it is anymore, yeah.
But with it all moving to online, it's going to be... People are stuck indoors with nothing to do. And we are going to get... The Overwatch League just released an article announcing... the schedule actually was released the day before for what the games going to be played.
Yeah, I think it was on the website.
But there's going to be 16 games over the next... over Saturday, Sunday, next week. Not this weekend, but next week. 16 games. That is so much online content.
It's a lot of games.
One of the biggest complaints people had about this new format was that they liked the previous one because the amount of content there was. The amount of games. They liked the fact that it was like constantly going on. And we're going to see a return to that in a time where there's just nothing really to watch that much online. Like people have already gone through HBO series. They've gone through.
I've been binging.
I have been reading because it is
because I'm knowledgeable.
I'm an intellectual.
Swirls wine inside of a Plat Chat mug.
But I watched the first episode of Westworld, and we can talk about that a little bit later.
It was good. Let's talk about that.
No spoilers. No spoilers,
though.
How are we gonna talk about it without spoilers?
Oh, it's super easy.
That was
just
a
spoil
joke.
it.
because
I haven't
this is
watched it
about
either.
Overwatch.
To be fair.
The schedules, though, they're adding Friday games as well. So there's now going to be games happening on Friday. There's going to be games happening in the middle of the night for over in China as well. It's going to be entertaining, but we're still not going to get that like cross-region play. Which, so everyone's going to still be anticipating the real season when it actually, when COVID dials down.
There are pros and cons, right? Because we just want to see teams play. Like I want to see Seoul against Paris or Seoul against New York or whatever, right? But at the same time, if we can build up that tension before the playoffs, I'm just going to hang on to the optimism and the positivity of this. So I'm just going to hang on to that piece of information and enjoy that. Even though it sucks, I'm going to clinch onto that piece of information. Just like playoffs is going to be sick. Like,
as a caster, my biggest complaint about the league thus far has not even been like the travel. It's just been I just want to cast more games.
Yeah.
I would go to Washington. I would do like one game a day. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Like, awesome, I'm done. But I want to cast more games. I want to watch more games. So
let's have a caster battle royale. You guys can fight it out.
For me, this gives it like everything I would want. I want to cast more. Which
in week 7, me and Josh have not casted since week 3.
Yeah.
It's been ridiculous.
Jaws and Hex, I think, like ended up in the same scenario. So like,
I'll tell you what though, because they haven't yet decided. They wrote on the article that just came out. They are still deciding what they want to do for the playoffs and finding what's fair. Because the issue with having these new regions, where you've got the Asian region, the West Coast, the East Coast, is that you've got these pockets where teams aren't playing against each other at all over the course of the season. So how do you work out a fair system? I would love to see them include every team in the playoffs, which sounds a bit mental.
I think that's fair. I would like to see that as well. So they moved the All-Star break, right? They have postponed that until the end of the season, and they were thinking about ways of making the season actually mean something. The only way that you look back in time and don't consider this entire year an asterisk on the Overwatch League is if almost all or all of the teams are in playoffs and they actually have a fair shot towards the end. Like a team like the Dallas Fuel may genuinely not win from now until the end, but could have been an 8th place team. Like it's theoretically possible.
That's true. I just don't like Boston Uprising in the playoffs.
But who cares?
They'll just get eliminated immediately.
Yeah, it'll be a 30-minute game and we'll all go home. Like,
I'd love to see, like, do you remember how Apex used to do their groups? Where they used to have like the seeding based off of groups. They had it was like 4 groups or something. I can't remember the exact format, but they would have groups of teams where it's like the highest seed, the middle seeds, and the lower seeds. I'd like to see them distribute that out, so you'd have a bunch of groups at playoffs with different regions. Like you'd have almost an equal spread of regions across the board. You would seed it based off of where they placed in their regions, and then they would play it out, and that would be kind of like the play-in. It would be like almost like a round robin. And then we'd get into the proper playoffs where the teams would go up through that system.
You could make it, it would be sick to have them do like a March Madness style bracket and break it into 4 little quadrants, kind of like the divisions we have. And then everybody play until you get like a Final 4, right? And then maybe the Final 4 is like played on LAN. I think it would just be so hype. Like if you had all 20 teams over the course of 1 week, battle it out, and use the regular season as seeding, and then kind of turn it like college basketball. March Madness is so awesome because the 32 team doesn't really like beat the number 1 or 2 team, but like a 16 seed upsets like an 8, and then they move on. Like, and that's just one and done, right? Like, where I think this could be a little bit more fleshed out. Where I think that would be awesome, and I think it's also a good kind of concession to teams that are like. I'm sure like some of these teams like scrimmed extremely hard in the offseason. They were ready for hero pools. And now this kind of throws in a little bit of a wrench in what they were doing. And it's like you would hate for the players to just feel like they completely wasted a year and they've just kind of sat around.
I think the argument against having all teams in playoffs is just, well, doesn't that mean that the regular season doesn't matter? At the end of the day, though, you have to acknowledge that this season is scuffed. Not because of anything the Overwatch League did, but because of the coronavirus. And by acknowledging that the season was scuffed, I mean the season itself has less value anyway because you weren't able to run run it in the way that you would like to run it. So I think you have to acknowledge that and flesh out the playoffs in order to have that be the thing that really has meaning. Otherwise, the entire season doesn't have meaning.
Sure, and it sucks for the Dallas Fuel, right? Because they get the worst end of it, pretty much. At the same time, I think playoffs is only a part of the entire season, and it's a key to find like the winner or like the champion, right? And I think if you underperform the whole season and you haven't proven yourself like worthy of even participating in the playoffs, I don't think you should be invited. And so I think that there should be a limit.
Yeah, how do you do that?
How do you do that when some teams don't even play against each other? Like Chengdu could be the 10th best team in the season, but because they're playing in this Asian division with really solid teams, they could just be bottom and not win a game.
It sucks, but it's like...
But there is a way to fix it.
There's a way to fix that.
Yeah, we literally were just talking about a way to fix it, yeah.
I think the general premise works well when
even like if you go by that logic, their matchup in the playoffs might be unfair because of the seeding.
But
and then
the way it would work is the playoffs would be when those teams finally come together and play. That's when it would cross over. In which case you might end up with Chengdu in a bracket with, I don't know, like Valiant, Paris, some other team. I'm just pulling shit out.
What if you did like? Sorry, Bren.
I feel like it makes the regular season like too irrelevant. I think we need something to fight for, and seeding alone is not going to fuel excitement for months.
The excitement is already fueled just by seeing the games, in my opinion.
People were watching, and we were fucking peddling that shit with the every map matters stuff.
The fourth map.
I was always amazed that people stayed in the studios. People never left.
Right? Yeah, but like that's the kind of thing you're looking at. Where what if you just did it by conference? If you took like the 10 teams in the Atlantic, the 10 teams in the Pacific, and made a bracket out of those 10?
Because I think
it's so complicated already.
The thing here that I really want to focus on is if you have an entirely online season, then you're missing that crossplay on LAN. So like you need the playoffs to be the proper LAN games against everybody as like a bit of a mini Apex season within the season. So it's like your entire regular season, it's like an appetizer at that point, but it was online. Yeah. So like, of course it's an appetizer. It's never going to be as meaningful.
I think this is a key opportunity for the league. They could turn this bad situation, they could turn this frown upside down, like quite literally.
That's a good one, dude.
This could be turned into such a sick end to the season.
Good, yeah.
Like actually so sick. Imagine just a week of just high intensity games where teams are playing for like their tournament lives.